Hello and welcome to this second round losers bracket, cuddling it against eversonrosed. He's new to the site, doesn't have much of a playing record, so don't let the rating belie anything, and I'm just going to bid 2 USSR as an opening standard. So this may be the last time you hear from me. Now it says here I will be USSR and he will receive 2 influence, so I really am Russian this time. No, I'm not. I am USA. I just can't even wrap my head around this friggin' site doing that to me each and every time. Hilarious. Anyway, USA. Fine. We'll see how he sets up. If he's very new to the game, I'm guessing 4-4-1 with Yugoslavia. We shall see. Not a lot of... Oh, no, he's going on Austria. Fine. Yeah, not a lot of comments on my last video. I'd be very grateful if people go back to look at winners bracket round 2. Now I've got socialist governments, so I can afford to shore up Iran more, and I'm going to do just that. Because obviously with Asia scoring, Olympic Games looks like my best headline, to be perfectly frank. USA never wants to trigger Formosa, ditto NORAD. Yeah, I think open Olympic Games. Obviously, triggering Fidel and realigning it would be gorgeous. I'll finish the round of Vietnam revolts because one of the pieces of advice I was given from the last game was do not space Vietnam, and that did kind of come back to haunt me. So I'll take a lesson learned there. So he may well give me the old De Gaulle duck and cover 1-2, or purge me if he's holding defectors. So anyway, Olympic Games it is. Because the alternative is I can headline Asia, but if he headlines D-Col, he gets domination straight away. Or D-Style, which I don't like. I don't like headlining scoring cards. So he's gone with CNS. That gets him 2. This is worth 1.25 victory points for me. So it might be a wash. Yeah, so it's a wash on VP on the headline phase. We'll see whether he goes for a big old coup of Italy. And we'll go from there. Obviously, I want to push into Afghanistan as soon as possible. And up to Malaysia. So where's the opening coup, Italy or Iran? It is Italy, and it's a pretty good one, but it's not good enough. So I am going to put 1 in Italy and move 1 into Afghanistan. So he didn't coup the 4-op card. He may be holding Marshall Plan. NATO obviously is not an issue because Marshall Plan's not been triggered. So unless he's holding 4-op cards into the round, which would be good, you know, it would be impressive. So CNS has gone. I played Olympic Games to start, and I've just played Formosan Revolution. He cooed with Warsaw Pact. I'm taking notes again to make sure I don't do anything stupid, like when I forgot about defectors coming back. We're playing a 90-minute game, so this one could go on 3 hours. And like I said, feedback very welcome. I'm by no means a genius. I was wondering in the last game if I should have cooed an African state earlier to try and prevent control instead of going full bore on the early war regions. Of course, I went into the mid-war with a lead of 11 points as USA, which is huge. But Africa control and South America's D-style really did for me, and I wasn't even comfortable at USA plus 11. But that's not taken away from Nick, who was excellent and will do very well in the winners bracket. I've looked ahead in the losers bracket, and the winner of this game plays last season's tournament winner Denovi. So, yes, the path of true love is not running smooth to the poor sufferers in these brackets, but c'est la vie. Obviously, with Asia scoring, I mean, at best, I can hope to score it neutrally. If DEFCON drops to 3 and I still hold Iran, I could by all means take Pakistan and try and take Thailand. I suspect he'll respond with the China card and take South Korea to balance out states. And I want to see Indo-Pakistan war come and go before I make any major decisions. So, no mad rushes. So he's spreading into the Middle East, and he's taking Afghanistan as well. So he's basically suggesting, in inverted commas, that I take Pakistan first, which I don't really want to do. So what I'm going to do is use my 3-op card and keep my 4 for a coup, take Afghanistan, which gives me neighbouring points, and then maybe take... Well, Lebanon DEFCON's quite high. I'll push into... Where do I want to go? Do I push into Iraq and make the Middle East more competitive? Or I can put one in Panama now, or I can start to press the advantage on France. I mean, that forces him to start degauling and Suezing. DEFCON's at 4. Yeah, I'm gonna put one in France, and I'm gonna say, what do you think of that? Because I've got some ops to shore up. Fidel, I can play freely and accept Fidel being in Cuba. Obviously, it would be more ideal to play it and take the 35% chance of realigning it, or space it. Obviously, he's captured Nazi, so if he spaces again successfully, he gets to space 2 a turn, which, you know, is prohibitively bad for me. So, and I want to keep socialist governments at risk of blockade. So I could space socialist governments on turn 6 and hold Fidel. That's another option. So obviously Asia's now neutral because I've got a neighbouring state. But if he does play into Pakistan, I can try 4-op cooing it. If it fails, he's unlikely to get domination from me, and then I can just score Asia at -1. But I do need to push in to Thailand if I'm going to play Vietnam revolts at the end of the round as well. I mean, obviously I can't give him an invite into Thailand unless I'm already partying there. So that's no good. I expect, since he asked for 90 minutes and he's new to the site, he's going to take his time. So forgive the everlasting prattle. I'll do my best to keep it interesting. So yes, let's just take some more notes. So he played Defectors, and then I responded with NORAD. Back on tea, since there's milk in the house, and obviously I won a game when I was drinking tea, and I lost a game when I was drinking coffee. So coffee's currently 0-1, and tea's currently 1-0. So I'll assume that imbibing has something to do with the situation as well. So what is there to say? You may have Japan, US, and obviously he doesn't really want to play that while Asia's in play, and you know that gives me more options. I could then hold Vietnam and play into this area, play into Taiwan and South Korea. So he's taken a bit of Middle East on. He may try a coup of Iran. So my option now is, I think, as it's a neutral round, is to score Asia at 0. And we'll wait and see what he does. I'm unlikely to get domination. I need to get Pakistan and Thailand. It just doesn't seem likely. I think I'm now going 4, 5, 6, looking to space socialist governments on turn 6. Fidel, I might try and realign out. I might try and take France. Suez is gone now for the first bit of the round. So, I mean, I can actually start to press the advantage in Europe. De Gaulle and duck and cover are an issue. Duck and cover is no longer an issue if we don't go back to DEFCON 5. I need to do a coup at some point, and Egypt seems like a decent shout for a decent coup. Of course, he'll move into Pakistan at that point, but now Asia's been scored. We've got time to worry about that, as it were. So we shall see what he does. I expect to see him push into Libya, maybe, if he's got Middle Eastern scoring, or Iraq is a more solid option, because that does set up realignment possibilities with Iran as well. But I think realistically, my next turn, obviously because of Milops, has to be a decent-sized coup. Egypt's less attractive in the early war because of Nasser, so if he does push into to Libya, so much the better. So he's putting in Iran. I'm going to cut off his access to Italy, which is a lovely bonus for me. And I think I'm going to trigger Fidel, which obviously does trigger DEFCON suicide. It's another reason not to speedily realign. And say, all right, you want to take France? Y'all going to have to worry about de Gaulle. Truman Doctrine's gone now, so I probably want to overprotect as well. Which I'm now running up against a slight ops issue there. This is what happens very quickly in the game. So I could cede 3 mil ops points at the moment. And DEFCON goes back up to 5, which makes Italy a coup target again. We'll wait and see what he does. So now it's time for the coup. And I will coup Egypt. Which is good. Now if Nasser's triggered, I don't lose presence in Egypt, so that's, you know, a decent outcome. So last round for him. If he blockades me, I ditch socialist governments. I probably space. He'll probably try and recoup. Yeah, okay, he's using the China card as well. He's recoupping Italy. He does not have great success. So I've got two options here. I can play Vietnam revolts and dominate the Middle East as well. But that gives him Thailand, and I don't currently have access. I think I'll let discretion be the better part of valor here. And whilst everything's neutral in the Middle East, and I've got access to Egypt, I'm going to space socialist governments. So up that goes. Success, which is good. So, options. I want to hold Decol. Ideally, I want to hold D-Stel. We'll see what happens with blockade. I've got the China card now, so I have a bit more advantage. 3, 7, I can hold them all. CI created is not much use. I can play duck and cover and deny him the coup. We'll wait and see about de Gaulle. If I play containment, what am I gaining? 1, 2, 3, 4 ops. So that's less than we normally hope for with containment. So duck and cover looks more attractive and gets me 3 VP. And I may need to riposte on France very quickly. We'll see about that. The alternative is I can play CI created and look at his hand, but I want to keep that in the deck. So I think I'll duck and cover. So I'm getting purged. So I've got to hold NATO if he tries blockading me. And space D-Stel, which is less pleasant. Obviously I can play containment on AR1 to offset the loss of ops. That gives me in the round 2, 3, 5, 9 instead of 2, 3, 4, 5, 8. Yes, I mean, it's a good time to purge. In one way, it's a good time to purge, I suppose. Actually, with de Gaulle, I can play the China card straight back to take France again. So Europe's in reasonably safe hands. And he's not even... Okay, so I think he's basically saying, I want the Middle East. That's why I'm getting loud and clear from him. So I'm going to play containment into Libya and say, you want a race? We'll have a race. Obviously, he's probably going to push into Saudi Arabia to take 3 battlegrounds. Obviously, he'd be sensible to take Lebanon first, because it might become a race for non-battlegrounds. We will see how he performs. Obviously, Arab-Israeli war here would be rather bad for me. Sorry, a little swig of tea. But I think he's telegraphing the fact he doesn't have Europe scoring, or he would have played de Gaulle. And he is, yeah, not worried about that. So he purged me, UN intervention 1%. So he's eventing Korean War, and I hope to, and he does flip it. So I immediately will China card to make that competitive. Because I can't afford to let him take that. Understood. The Korean War's been invented. Headline, duck and cover. So I'm just catching up on my little card list. Truman's been and gone. In NATO. There we go. That sounds about right. So yeah, okay, he's giving me Japan, and he is now staking his claim. He basically has the Middle East sewn up now, but he's giving me domination in Asia. So I mean, I've got two options here. I can play. So I'm purged. I can't even take Japan. So he's going to take Middle East scoring. I've got to start thinking about Pakistan, although if I can hold... So if I hold these two, if I don't get blockaded, I can hold Indo-Pakistan as well. So what I'm going to do is play... If I'm giving up on the Middle East, I'm currently fairly pretty in Europe. I think with Vietnam Revolt almost certainly being triggered, I've got to play up towards it, and he's holding the China card. So I'm saying, okay, you can take Pakistan if you want. The quid pro quo is I'm going to try and war you out. And of course, if he does play into it this turn, I can event it and hope to flip straight away. There's Middle East scoring, as expected. Fine. Now it starts to get a little bit hairy. Because I'm wondering, does he have blockade? CI created would have been good for that, but it just seems like a bit of a waste, given the overall circumstances. It's a bit too soon for Vietnam revolts as well. I think I'm going to space these style, which is risky. It will come back, but I want to see what his reaction is. I want to see where he goes and what he gets up to. And while I'm purged, to some extent, he has the right to that tempo. He's earned it through the play. So it's spaced in turn 2. He's spacing East Europe. He also succeeds. So neither of us are going far from each other. Okay. So, I'm going to play Vietnam Revolt into Thailand, and I expect to see him immediately respond. He may blockade me. If he doesn't blockade me, I've got 3 ops for NATO, which is great. Although I'm giving him another 2 points for mil ops. But again, I mean, at the moment, Europe's scoring my way. I need to do a little bit of overprotection there. So we'll wait and see what he does to finish the turn. He does try and blockade me, but I can, of course, discard NATO. So in that case, I'm going to event to get my mil ops. So I fail, but I get the mil ops. So it's a net 0. Blockade is gone. IPW came out to 2. So let's see what we've got. We've got Europe scoring as expected. This is the point at which I can work out what he's holding. He's holding, in no particular order, he's holding 5-year plan. Triggered. Vietnam Revolt has been triggered. He's holding Romanian abdication, I believe, and Arab-Israeli war, which is currently a very juicy target for him. He's holding Comecon. I'm holding NASA. He's holding Independent Reds and Marshall Plan. East Ukraine got spaced. I'm holding Decol. Special Relationship and Cambridge 5. Yeah, so his cards include 5-year plan, Romanian abdication, Arab-Israeli war, Comecon, Independent Reds, which is good for him at the moment, Marshall Plan, which is bad for him, but he'll hold it. Decol. I've got NTB. So he's got a decent hand. He's got plenty of ops to play with. D-Style comes straight back to me, which is very lucky. NASA's currently an unpleasant addition. That's an empty round. Again, I've really got nothing here. Nothing attractive. If I play Europe scoring and he Suez or de Gaulle's me, I get nothing for it, which is annoying. But he knows I'm holding Europe. To some extent, playing NASA and just triggering it might work here. Special relationship doesn't really help if he de Gaulle's me. NATO would be much more attractive for that purpose. I can't play Olympic Games in case he duck and covers me. So this is one of those fairly unpleasant times where I really don't see... I'm better off triggering NASA and just getting it out the deck, which is gross. So he is Arab-Israeli warring, and he succeeds. So the Middle East is looking very attractive to him. Obviously, I'm looking forward to Sadat coming along. So I want to be trying to score Europe as quickly as possible. I also want to be spacing before him to try and swing the 2 VPs. I'm holding D-style, spacing D-col, and these are my other rounds. Cambridge 5 is fine once Europe is gone. Socialist governments is an empty round, and I've got nothing I can do about it. But if I score Europe first, I then at least have some discretion about how I redistribute the points. He may waive the opening coup because of the juiciness of Thailand. I guess I want to be putting 2 in there sooner rather than later, which then makes him have to take Pakistan. So he'll be sizing stuff up. Obviously, if he's got Asia scoring, he's going to react quicker. He may try coupping Iran. He may try coupping Libya if he's got Middle Eastern scoring. Obviously, at the moment, OPEC's scoring him 3, which is fine, but not glorious. So I think he'll have his eyes on more Middle Eastern places for OPECing. So Nasser is gone. Arab-Israeli war got played. Turn 3. So he's going in with the China card. He'll be taking Thailand. Will he be overprotecting it? He will. That's fine. So I think the natural response to that is I take Pakistan before he can, because he's given me the China card as well. So this is going to be a bit of call and response. He's going to want to push into Burma to take India, and I've got these to counteract losing domination. The problem is I need to find time to claim Europe scoring, and ideally space decol. So there's a lot of stuff to do for turn 3. It's a busy old time. So we've got a play who's happy giving me the China card. He's played it on turn 1 and 3. That's something I've tried to, stop doing. I used to see it as a free 4-op card, which I'd help myself to. But hand shortening is an issue and a risk. And obviously things like Asuri and mid-war is a major risk. DEFCON suicide always is. Grain sales and Nixon and the like. So yeah, I've tried to stop playing the China card quite so much, basically. So he's cooing with Marshall. He is trying to take Libya. That's 4 points for OPEC now. But it also means I'm sitting pretty in Europe. So as there's nothing for me to do, I'm going to take Europe scoring now. He may choose to space, and again, if you think spacing before Europe scoring was a better option, please tell me. To some extent it might be, but then he may surprise me with Suez or De Gaulle, and put me on the back foot. So I'll take the points when I can get them. Middle East is now scoring 5 because of the swing. Yeah. Not a lot to be done there. I want to try and play Cambridge 5 as late in the round as possible, of course, because then I'm not giving away the fact I don't hold Asia scoring. Independent Red triggers and dismissed. Where's he going? So he's looking for control. Obviously, Muslim Revolution kicks me out of Iran. So I'm looking forward to Sadat coming sooner rather than later. So I space decol, and I hope to get good in the roll. I do not, so he will have a chance at the 2-point swing. That's a bummer, dude. It's a bummer. But, that's the way it goes. So he does score the Middle East for as many points as he can muster. So I'm going to put 1 in here, and I'm going to put 1 in Panama. So I'm basically teasing him there. If he's got Indo-Pak war, he might go for it right now. If he doesn't take the bait, obviously I'm putting into Burma to block his access to India. I'm not filling India. And then it becomes a 1 in 6 anyway, because I've got Pakistan and Burma. And then I want to be filling in these at some point because Southeast Asia scoring is, of course, all him at the moment. But that will change quickly. If I take Burma and then wrap up these 3, that's not a problem. Socialist governments, now that Marshall Plan's come and gone, I can afford to redistribute ops if I need to with socialist governments. so there's that luxury. But it looks like, you know, with Milops as well, we're looking at a situation where, like as not, so he's taking Burma, and he's pushing in. So I will put one into Indonesia and one into India, just to say, all right, let's make it count. I don't have Asia scoring, he knows that, so now he's got a 6th round free to do whatever he thinks best. If I'm lucky, he won't bother spacing. And then I'll take India and accept the risk of a 1 in 3 flip. He's got a space duck and cover. He failed, so that's good. Both of us are doing all right there. So let's see what he takes out of Socialist government. 2 out of Italy, I would expect. To some extent, me putting 1 back in Italy suits me slightly better because, you know, if he does brush war me on turn 4, then it's easier for me to flip back. I mean, it's unpleasant if he brush wars me there, but to be honest, it's a damn sight worse than being brush warred when it's at 3. So we're going to go into the end of the early war pretty much where you expect, points-wise. Okay, so he's denied me access to Turkey, which to some extent is fine. I can either put 2 in Greece to protect against the brush war, or put 2 in Malaysia. Because he kept Italy at 3, and I want access to Turkey in the long run, actually, I think I'm going to put 2 back into Greece, which makes it slightly less attractive. Okay, so, yeah, I mean, Muslim revolution is a very big concern to me. Missile Envy is not very attractive when We Will Bury You might come out, but I expect him to headline We Will Bury on turn 4 if he gets it. Central America is currently worth 1. Colonial Rearguard is a great wee card for me. Willy Brandt, I can actually play both ops into. Puppet Governments is attractive as a headline. Colonial Rearguards I can play for the event at the time once DEFCON is a 2. So those are all pretty lovely cards. Eastern European Arrest I'll play for the ops because there's, you know, it's not worth hammering Europe now scoring's come out in turn 3. So I guess my headline, Missile MV is a risky one, but Duck and Cover's gone. Excuse me a moment while I quickly update and we keep talking. Marshall Plan's gone. So Missile MV is the risky one. Puppet Governments is the attractive one if I can find places to dump them in, but obviously with a coup option and Warsaw Pact still out, there's not a lot of places for it to go. So, yeah, it's not super attractive, basically. 5-year plan didn't come out, so he's still holding 5-year plan. And still holding Romanian abdication, I make. So where are we at? Decot went to space on turn 3. So Colonial Rearguards puts pressure on him, which is one reason why it might be attractive. But I'd be putting 1 in Thailand and 1 in Laos. 1 in Malaysia and 1 in South Africa, really, because I don't want to open up these coup options just yet. So Missile Envy is another option. And that kind of grosses him out. I'm going to gamble, and I may look like a total fud. I'm going to headline Missile Envy. So he's gone in with Portuguese Empire Crumbles. So, yeah, I mean, that's bad if he's got Africa scoring, but now, of course, because of Missile Envy, he can't immediately play it. So I at least have time to riposte. So let's see what he gives me. He may give me 5-year plan, which means he then has to give me another card. So, and I don't mind that for hand shortening, because we know CIA's around, and Cuba's a target. So hand shortening works in my favour at the moment. I would welcome thoughts on whether that was a seriously risky turn 4 headline, or if in fact I just overthought it, which is entirely possible too. So Portuguese Empire Crumbles is there, and it's gone. So yes, I'm trying to still take notes. Mostly it's like, count the important cards. Southeast Asia scoring is currently very attractive to him. I space D-style this turn if I can, to get to the 2 VP swing before him. OPEC scoring 4, which is not great. But we'll wait and see what he hands me. He can't hand me 5-year plan, actually, because I think he's got nuclear test ban, excuse me. So, nuclear test ban, in one sense, isn't great for me, because it would raise DEFCON to 5, but then it would give me some cooing options as well, so it's probably not the end of the world. But we shall see. If he hands me flower power, we will bury you, I get to use it for ops. What do I do if he hands me a big red 4-op card? I'd probably try and coup Libya to drop DEFCON as much as anything else, because obviously Portuguese is triggering after Missile Envy. I can't go into that. And because of Missile Envy, he's got to play again afterwards. So I've got time to go into Algeria. And of course, there's good old colonial rearguard, so I could actually push into Zaire and Nigeria as well. Great time to draw colonial rearguards, especially knowing that Decol has been spaced, of course. He may choose, depending on what card he hands me, to just space Missile Envy and try and swing the 2 VPs. So Cuban Missile Crisis. He may drop 2 out of Cuba. We shall see. So he's got to play Missile Envy. He's going into Zaire as well. So I respond with colonial rearguards. One in there, I think. So I can now flip Thailand with the China card. Central America is still only scoring 1. Honours shared in Africa at the moment, and if he wants to race on Africa, I've got some ops to do that. So we'll see where he goes next. I think if he moves into Costa Rica, I mean, it seems unlikely because I'm holding Central America. I expect to see him battling for Africa, especially given the headline. What he's hoping for there, if he's holding Africa scoring, is the old cheeky headline Portuguese Empire, claim Africa while I don't have presence, for a nice big VP swing. If he gets into a war now, I'm proximal to Algeria, and South Africa's usually mine unless he takes Botswana and starts realigning. For that reason, I may choose to take Botswana before I start loading up South Africa, of course. And I ideally want to flip Thailand as well. So we shall see. He's given me 2 VPs, because I'm holding Africa, and he's doing a little bit of both. So I'm going to race him. He may play into Botswana and I have to do the coup, but that's good for my mill ops, to be perfectly frank. And of course, it only takes 3 ops to flip Zaire if he doesn't do anything about that. So this, of course, creates the situation for him, he may unwittingly, of course, where, I mean, if I get in a situation where I flip NORAD, I could actually flip Zaire, I could start trying to realign him out of Africa, and he ends up handing me a decent amount of points. Obviously, he's currently in a position where he can't coup with Cuban Missile Crisis. So I've got that going for me as well. I can coup Southeast African states once I take Algeria, or if I take Botswana. And then I've got domination, and he pretty much has to start coupping back. So that's definitely another option too. Puppet governments I'm probably going to use to push into South America. And I do want to try and flip Thailand before he gets a mind to do something else. That may all depend on what else happens elsewhere on the map, of course. Sometimes it's not all that simple. So, I played Colonial Rear Guards, which came along at a great time. My headline is Zambia, which I've got. Yes, all the big cards, ABM, Treaty, Junta, are still sitting in the deck somewhere. Grain sales, Salt. It's a shame I don't have Lone Gunman, really, because it's a great time, obviously. So, he's cancelled Cuban Missile Crisis, so he's ready to start coupping. So I've got options here. I can give him tempo in Africa. Of course, he's lost Cuba. So what I might do is I might distract him while he's under pressure. Through over here. He may go for Africa, not knowing I'm holding Central America scoring for a decent number of points. Because what he can't do is he can't play influence into Cuba unless he also plays into Haiti, or I'm going to realign him at 2 and he's out the door. So I expect to see, 2 ops, 1 in Cuba, 1 in Haiti. Or he may press his advantage in Africa. He would do that by moving into Botswana, which would give me some food for thought. But I've got a lot of things I want to accomplish. I ideally want to score Central America, fairly handily. I could have done it for 1 there, right? But that's, but I'm greedy. I'm going to be greedy and demanding. I want to flip Thailand, but obviously brush war's a major risk. To some extent, beggars can't be choosers, but I don't expect him to notice. So he's given me OAS. So I'll put 2 in Mexico. He'll put 1 in Cuba, and I get domination. Obviously, because I have puppet governments, I didn't even stop to think about OASing South America there. I've got a scoring card. I want to score domination, unless he coups big on Nicaragua. So he needs to score to remove me. It's 4 he needs to remove, and it's a 2. So 1. He needs to roll a 5 or a 6 to get me out. So I like my odds. If he's got sense here, I'll play 1 into Cuba to make sure he gets both a point for a battleground and a point for adjacency. But these are cards that I desperately try not to play, because you just cannot repair 2 influence anywhere in the Americas as the USSR. It's just unfeasibly difficult to manage. So, yeah, I'm not keen playing it. And, of course, when you do play it, regardless of the outcome, you're left hanging with 1 op, which is, frankly, it's crap. So you're left with very little. It's very frustrating. So I think I expect it to go to Cuba. It does. It goes into Haiti. But either way, so I get an extra VP because he didn't get Cuba. I'm just going to score that there before he starts to do anything fancier. I'm looking to space D-style as well. While Africa's neutral, let it be neutral, I can worry about it later on. So OAS founded is gone. Scrub that. He's spacing nuclear subs before I get a chance to space. He fails. So I certainly want to take the chance to space D-style. Of course, he may salt D-style if I space it, which is the risk. Nuclear subs get spaced in turn 4. But to some extent, I want to be greedy, and I want to do it before the end of the action round so I can create some crises. But I fail as well, so there we go. It's a wash. So what I'm likely to do here is play 1 into Algeria and 1 into Zimbabwe, because then I swing it to Africa domination my way. I've still got puppet government. Willie Brandt's worth 2 to me. And I do still want to flip Thailand, but as long as he doesn't play an op into it. And I've got domination anyway, that's the thing about Asia. It's a 4-point swing for the Southeast Asia card, which is a reason to do it. But I immediately would need to add an extra one to overprotect. Then I'd need to put 2 into Malaysia so I'd be playing, basically 6 and 7 would have to be China and NORAD. And I kind of like NORAD and Puppet elsewhere on the board. That may be foolhardy, comments welcome, but I see it as flip with China, overprotect with NORAD, put into Malaysia, then if brush war comes, hope not to lose a 50-50, which is a big ask when I could be cultivating, say, putting an influence into Chile with puppet governments, for example. So, yeah, there's a lot to be considered on the board. Obviously, Allende's to come out as well, let's not forget. So wait and see what he's got. As expected, he's taking his time. He asked for a 90-minute game, and I respect that. I usually play 45s because I'm impatient. But that does mean I'm sloppy and make rush decisions. So maybe this is good because it's allowing me a bit more thinking time than I normally allow myself. He may, of course, quagmire me at the end of the round. possibly, something like that. He's having a good old think. Let's update the sheet here. D-Style has gone in turn 4. So yeah, flipping. Well, so Brushwall's here. This is a good opportunity for me. He fails on Italy. That's very lucky for me. So now I do change tack, and I say, all right, Thailand's mine, and I'm going to overprotect it next turn because I no longer fear Brush War, and that neutralises Southeast Asia scoring, which is good. He should have sat on Brush War. He got greedy, attacked a place which was not necessarily of great import. He 5 years Asia, nicely played, very very sassy. That's obviously why 5-year plan is so good for the Russians. It's not just a US card. So 5-year plan goes out on turn 4 along with Asia scoring, neatly done. And Brush War has been and gone on turn 4 as well, so I'll mark that up. So he may try and fight for Thailand here, which would be a sensible thing to do. But with Brush War gone, things aren't quite so bad for me. And if he doesn't, I put 1 in Thailand, 1 in Algeria, and 1 in Zimbabwe to claim Africa domination and say, you're riposte, basically. So let's see what he does. So he shores up, and he's going for the realignment option there. So I can flip Zaire. But no, I need to be putting influence into Thailand to stop it flipping. So I'll put 1 in here. Or do I? So yes, I need to put 1 in Thailand, no doubt. So then it's about where else I do it. Do I put 1 in Zaire to break it, and then he's got the choice of coup or realign, but then I can coup back on Botswana. I think what I'll do is I'll stick with... Oh no, because I no longer get domination, do I? Aha! So much to think about. Thailand is a must. So, I think... Oh, man. I mean... Yeah, okay. So I'm going to put 2 in Malaysia to make sure Southeast Asia is scoring towards me. And protects against the Salted Brush War. I wasn't happy with anything particularly there. There we go. Southeast Asia scoring comes out. Grain sales is the auto headline, of course. We all know that. It's always, 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 always. I've still got puppet governments to expand in South America. I'm obviously going to drop DEFCON by attacking Zaire or somewhere like it. I've got Panama Canal to expand into Venezuela. I mean, if he doesn't get lucky and Allende's not around, I could puppet government into Chile, Panama into Venezuela, and control before the end of the turn, potentially. So there's some food for thought there. Shuttle diplomacy does nothing for me to trigger, of course. Middle East is very much not mine. And so let's see what we've got. He's got Allende. He's going there first. So obviously I play U2 incident. And I coup... Or do I coup Angola with it? It's a harder coup, but then it stops setting up realignments. That's alright. I'll say that very much. Thank you. So, he may well now expand into South America. So I puppet governments, Brazil, ideally Argentina if he doesn't go into it, but Brazil and Venezuela at least. And then I Panama Canal to control Venezuela. Or I keep hold of Panama. To be honest, this is one of the things you don't mind playing as US. Usually, you want your opponent to play one-up cards because they can't repair the damage. But in this circumstance, to some extent, Panama's a 3-op card for me, triggering it like that, because I want to shore up Panama. So, you know, that's a useful bonus. What I could also be thinking about doing is pressuring Africa domination. If I flip Zaire and take Algeria, all of a sudden he's got a problem on his hands in Africa. He's going to take the time to do the things he never has. So I'd like to space something this turn as well, try and get the points. De Gaulle is one of those ones you really want to trigger and get out the deck, to be honest. But the 4VP swing on the space tracker is irresistible, of course. So, if I expect to trigger puppet governments this turn, definitely. I could always dump one in the Philippines. One op for 1 VP is a nice trade. So if I can put one in the Philippines and score Southeast Asia for 2, so much the better. Let's have a quick look in the discard pile, because I do hold Salt, and Salt is one you like to play if you can. I can Salt Brush War. Obviously, sorting ABM Treaty is nice, sometimes as Europe. I could get Grain Sales out again, just to be a real bastard. So there's some thought there. I could always hold it and see what comes along later on as well, potentially, if I play the other 7. Spacing De Gaulle or repairing. So he's playing Influence. Alright, so I immediately respond with puppet governments into Brazil and Venezuela. He may then score South America before I get a chance for 4 points. And if he does, well done to him, that's fine. So the last influence, options. I could put one in Turkey, one in Taiwan. I could put one up in Sudan, which gives me a bit more leverage. And obviously it's not an attractive coup target. He may try realigning Nigeria. So another option is Saharan states, because then that means he can't play South America and has to coup. And obviously with ones, I can coup back. So we'll wait and see what he does. I expect him to drop South America here for 4 points. If he does, I think I space De Gaulle and try and bag the 2 VPs for spacing. If he doesn't play South America, obviously I use shuttle diplomacy, take Venezuela and Brazil. I may want to trigger Alliance for Progress at 4 VP, because that's starting to get into the realm of delightfulness. Cooing liberation theory, so he is going for the side-by-side. So I'm going to just say no to that and coup right back with Willy Brandt, which I know I can afford to play, even if it zeroes out, which it doesn't. And obviously that's now less attractive. So he might say, alright, fair enough. If he does, I can keep under pressure. I can coup Cameroon, and then I've got domination as well. I didn't want to give him access to Algeria, obviously. So yeah, anyway, if I get these 2 states, all of a sudden 4 VPs is looking quite attractive for Alliance for Progress. I think I rarely do it for less than 4. I'd be happy to do it for 5 or more, so 4 seems to be the pinch point. But he's cooing back, he really wants Saharan states, and he's done quite well on it. So now that's a potential problem for me, because he can now play into Algeria or Cameroon. But I'm going to coup Cameroon, because I can always use a 3-op card to flip Zaire as well. So it's all well and good him trying to push into Algeria. So we've got a little coup war going in Africa, which suggests that he's not holding South America scoring, frankly. Alliance of Progress may come back out later on, so I may use the ops to zero out South America. At this point, Southeast Asia probably is only scoring for 1, because I'm swiftly running out of options, as you've noticed. There's a lot else going on around the board. So he may China card coup Cameroon in a bid to realign Nigeria. If he does, then, you know, to some extent I take Algeria and I say, well, I'm 3-2, so I'm never going to lose money in Africa. He's big cooing, so he will be going for Cameroon. And he gets another big one as well. So I say, alright, more power to your arm. I think at this point I do just play Panama for the ops and take Algeria. So even if you take Nigeria, I can flip Zaire. So he may try realigning here. I'm going to need to play Southeast Asia scoring at some point. I may want to hold Salt rather than Alliance. So I may be playing Alliance for the ops. Yeah, he's going to try realigning, which is fine. Let him have it. And that's probably took. No, lucky again. Very lucky. So I get a point. So I've got options here. I can play into Ivory Coast, which will also give me domination. Well not. I can't count for toffee, can I? But that does make it less attractive. And I'll put 1 into for presents as much as anything else, because he's going to coup anyway. So that makes realignment less attractive for him. I've got to play Southeast Asia scoring. I guess I'd possibly want to space the Gaul. He may China card coup the Ivory Coast. He may go coup crazy in Africa. But as long as you have 3 battlegrounds to their 2, to some extent it doesn't matter what they do, you know? There's only so much. So how long have we been playing for? 33 on his clock, 22 on mine. So we've been playing just shy of an hour. Hope I'm not boring you too much. Spacing John Paul, of course, and he gets there. So well done him. I'm going to play Southeast Asia scoring. Although I suppose I have the option of... Has he got Africa scoring? So I can play Salt to flip and dominate Africa. Or control Africa, of course. I guess I want to do that, because he's got to respond to it. It's frustrating using Salt for that purpose, but if he's sat on Africa scoring for all this time, that puts him in a very hard place. And of course, I've got less incentive to space now, because he's gotten to the 2 VPs. I want to space fairly soon, because I don't want him headline peeking me. Okay, so he's probably going to flip. He's flipping Zaire, and he's overprotecting it. Fine, so Southeast Asia scoring comes out. I don't give him an AR7 crisis, which may prove a mistake. But I've got Junta, which is glorious, and ABM Treaty, so that's lovely. I can play Brezhnev on turn 7. So I want to play Junta to drop DEFCON, obviously. That seems like the best bet. So I want to hold containment, space South African unrest, prepare de Gaulle. So it looks like my 8 cards this turn are headline Junta, finish with Brezhnev. So yeah, Junta first. I'm getting purged again. Okay, so I put 2 in Venezuela and I coup Argentina. Reasonably lucky. So I could play containment on AR1 to try and offset purge. 1, 4, 7, 9, 10. I can no longer space South Africa if that happens. So yeah, I mean, to some extent I have to play containment for 2 ops or contain, which would gain me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ops. It feels like an empty round doing it in the middle, but if he quagmires me in turn 1, this is a problem too. The old Purge Quagmire combo could prove very nasty very quickly. Although I've got de Gaulle to some extent Brezhnev or Flower Power, but that's less attractive. He'll probably shore up Argentina in AR1. In case I'm holding South America scoring. Get a measly point for it. That is what he does. So, options. I can ABM Treaty Zaire. So that's 2. And its ABM Treaty is now only a 3-op card. I think I have enough heart cards that I don't need to think about containing just yet. So if I play ABM Treaty, let's see what the coup options are. So a 1 levels it off, a 2 puts me in advantage but can be flipped. So I'm going to go for it. Lovely. So I'm back in control. Nigeria becomes his target to stop me controlling Africa. So if I'm going to space this turn, I'm forced to space the Gaul if I do that. So we haven't seen OPEC yet. He's still due 4 points from that. I mean, it's a tight game. I think I've got the upper hand, as evidenced by the blue. but most of those areas have scored. So Africa, if I can score it even for domination, I'm happy. So if he doesn't flip Nigeria with a 3-op card, I shore it up next turn, and then it's just 2-2 realignments. He may try and break Algeria, of course, as well. So I think Flower Power's going to have to be used for shoring ops, as it were. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I've got loads of space in Asia. That's fine. Middle East is a nightmare, but we've seen Muslim revolution go. So Iranian hostage crisis is the big problem. I'd really like to see Sadat at some point, because I need to be holding a battleground. If I get booted out of Iran with hostage crisis, I'm all over a barrel. Because no presence in the Middle East to control is so many points. Is it 10? It's more than 10, I think. It's something obscene, basically. So I need to avoid that. That's my biggest issue on the board right now, because I can live with South Africa and South America being a wash, especially while everywhere else is looking okay. So we'll see what he's going to do. So I've been purged twice this game. I remember watching Gun Lohman's final against Denovi the first game, and he said he'd been keeping records, and if you get purged twice in a game, you expect to win only about 10% of the time. So that's ugly. That's really ugly, you know. So, you know, he's made something of it. So he's going all out for denying me presence for control. I'm 6, he's 6, so a coup would do. If the coup fails, I still get 5 VP. So I'm going to coup with a very low card. I'm going to coup with Summit, which succeeds bigly, as Trump would say. So that's a delight. I've got no big coup target, so he may just bite the bullet and try flipping Nigeria. If he does, I try flipping it back. He's obviously worried about Africa. Neither of us may hold it. It's turn 6. The scoring cards have to be out by 7. So he's going to coup that back. If he doesn't do well, which he does, fully for him. So again, I'm going to use a 1-op card. That'll do nicely for the time being. Now, this is great for me, because he's not developing his position elsewhere on the board. And it's all in good him saying, I don't like Africa being controlled, but he's doing nothing about Central America, he's doing nothing about Europe, he's doing nothing about Asia. And all of those things are going to weigh on him. This is the worst time to draw Tehran. If I can ditch OPEC, it'll only come back in turn 1. I want one small step in the deck, because I can jump it. So I'll ditch Quagmire. I kind of want Warsaw Pact, to be perfectly frank. If I get to trigger it, better than in the late war. So nuclear test ban, again, I may ditch as well, because I don't want him to have high ops cards. So I'm going to keep Warsaw Pact, and I'm going to keep one small step. Alright, so, once again, I am going to coup. I'll use containment, which is frustrating, but there you go. Okay, so, in a way that's good for me, because it doesn't reintroduce a coup target, as much as anything else. But then, of course, you can just play 1 into Zimbabwe anyway. So, I'll be using Flower Power for my AR5 coup. I may even use Brezhnev for my AR6, giving him a turn at AR7 in case he's holding Africa. Because he seems to be worrying, in a word. And his focus on it, his laser-like focus, makes me think either he's got it, or he thinks I've got it. Obviously, I can't trigger the Gaul and repair while I'm under purge. So there's that going for it. So sorry, did I finish what Gun Lohman said? Which is, when he gets purged twice, he invariably sees his win rate is abysmal. Right, so, do I get access to 2 1-op areas? I can get control here, and I can get Egypt, and I can shore up Nigeria. So that's what I'm doing. Obviously, that gives me another battleground in the Middle East, which means if Iranian hostage crisis comes along, things aren't quite so dire. So we'll see what he does in AR6. I think I want to space the Gaul. Do I want to know? Maybe I want to hold it. I mean, I can use 6 and 7. I can use the China card, although Yasuri hasn't been. But either I'll get dealt it next turn, or he will, and he has to space it. So let's see what he does, basically. I expect to see a coup, which succeeds. So what do I go for? I'm going to hold the Gaul, because I don't want to space it and have it come back and haunt me in Europe. Okay, so did he have Africa scoring? because of course if he doesn't have Africa scoring, I can play Brezhnev anyway. South America scores neutrally. So, where am I best to play 2 ops for Brezhnev? I can coup Sudan, which increases my surface area in Africa. So we know Africa's coming out next term. So if I coup Sudan, now even if he coups a battleground, the swing doesn't stop me losing domination. So I did alright under Purge there. Could have been a lot worse. Didn't get the space. Africa's there. So I can one small step, if I wish. If turn 7 saw the cards come back out, Decol, Brush War, blah blah blah. To that end, Africa scoring is not an ideal opening card. Although Bear Trap is quite attractive, because it gives me the chance to play Africa. I think I'm going to Bear Trap him. And I look to event one small step later on as well. He may quag me, because we haven't seen quag yet. So this is, was it Dodger Walker? Apologies if it was another OP. But whoever put up the Spider-Man pointing at each other picture. This could be that moment, and wouldn't that be gloriously ironic after this week of posting? If the Bear Trap succeeds, then I just take Africa for 10 points, obviously, if he does nothing in the headline phase. That's ugly for him. And yeah, fine, he can coup, but he's got a lot to do on the map at this point. And I would like a USA score before turn 8, because obviously 6 influence going into Europe for the Reformer is really ugly. Okay, so I Bear Trap him. He's going to take 2 out of France, 2 out of the UK. So I do need to shore that up. The question is, do I do that before I pinch Africa? He succeeds with VOA. I'm going to take Africa. And if he wants to go after, I mean, I can prevent domination in Europe by taking Turkey, Spain, Canada, the UK. So he may go after France here. And if he does, that gives me a coup option. I don't have any 4s, which is annoying. Because, obviously, Libya's the most attractive. Because then we're 3-3 in Middle Eastern battlegrounds. He may have Europe scoring, and he may play the China card to get into France. He plays Europe scoring straight away, so I can actually afford to shore that up at some point. So for now, my options are a coup of Libya and hope to do quite well, or I coup Argentina and look to swing another area, basically. So a third of the time I get nothing, 2/3 of the time I get no access, and 1/3 of the time I actually get something. Or in Argentina, 50% of the time I actually get some influence in there. So it's that whole, do I want to be dominating an area? I mean, I expect to get booted out of Iran as well. That's the other thing going for it. And Reagan helps me in Libya. But I do want to drop DEFCON. I'm going to go Argentina. And all I do is remove his access. So I need to be playing into Uruguay at some point as well. I think I need to play one small step. I'm going to play Warsaw Pact soon and take France back. So I'd like to play Warsaw Pact sooner rather than later to take France and the UK back. Then I can play De Gaulle neutrally. If I play one small step, I have to then space a 3-up card, which is obviously Che. 3-4 space 3-4 repair space play is what I'm looking at. So I hold South African unrest. So he's got crises, you know. He's got to shore up Uruguay, Argentina even, unless, because, you know, Colombia could come along and give me domination, which he needs to sort out. He's got a lot of problems, and he may have scored Europe for nothing, which is good for him, but Africa scoring that much, and that needs repairing by the end of turn 10. So he's got stuff to be getting on with. Middle East scores him 1 less BP now, 4, which is a bit more sanguine for me. And obviously I can event kitchen debates as well for an extra free 2 BP. If he does space before me, then I try spacing South Africa and West, and then one small stepping to skip to the 3 BP spot before him. So, to some extent, this is one of the perverse situations where actually I'd quite like him to try spacing. Because it gives me 2 options. I either leapfrog him and then I'm trying to space to the 3 before him, or he succeeds. And if I fail, I can get to share headline peaking and deny him that privilege. So I'm in quite a luxurious position for a person behind on the space tracker. Other reason to be ahead, if I can, is that Star Wars is coming up shortly. So I need to be ready for that, and that means being ahead in the space race. So we'll see what he does. The worst case scenario for me here is that he tries taking France, I think. That's genuinely the worst case scenario. If he does that, it's problematic for end scoring. And obviously it makes De Gaulle a complete nightmare for me. But, all of that said, I don't think he's going to try taking France immediately, because he's got other fish to fry on the board. And he's kind of up against it. So, and Europe's scoring spin. So I don't see him thinking, you know what, now I absolutely have to take France. What I have to do, which I've not realised, so kudos to anyone who's not said it yet, he's holding the China card, and Pakistan is flippable. So depending on what I'd like to see, what I'd genuinely love to see, is that he just puts 2 straight back in Argentina. Empty round. That would be delightful. And then I can use Warsaw Pact to put 2 in France and 1 in Pakistan for it flipping. That's probably my ideal call and response here. Whether that happens remains to be seen. I mean, he wants to do that because that neutralises Asia, which is the next big thing. But if he's not holding Asia scoring, he might not be seeing that. If he's holding Central America scoring right now, he's thinking, oh God, what can I do? I could coup Nicaragua, but that's an ugly target. I use liberation theory for something else, which I don't like seeing people use liberation theory as USSR. For anything other than the event, it's so powerful, because it's so hard to get into Mexico. And Panama's really critical for South America access. Liberation theory, I just feel like, as a USSR, is almost always worth eventing. It just seems like whatever you're doing to use it for 2 ops somewhere else is not as efficient. It just strikes me as being that simple. So, that's my take. Others may dispute. So let's see what he does. He may take France. No, he goes into... So he's ops warring me in France. But special relationship may yet come out, so I'm going to put 2 in there and 1 in Pakistan, because I do want to deny him flipping Asia. Flipping. I mean, he neutralises Asia. He flips it from +9 to me to 0, or 1, because we'd be 3-3 in battlegrounds, wouldn't we? 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not counting properly. I probably did need to put that 1 in Pakistan, but I don't mind an ops race in France, because I will always deny him domination. It's 2 ops here to be 5-4 or whatever, and then there's Spain, Portugal, and Turkey to fight over. Although I don't really want to play Che. So, but to some extent, I can give him Europe domination because I can break it in the late war, whereas he's got to break Africa and Asia. He's got to do something about Central America, and he's got to try and stop scoring South America in neutral. So if he does take France, which will cost him 4 ops, let's not forget, and special relationship's not out, it's leaving him a lot to do, because if special relationship comes along, that's another reason to shore up the UK. Note to self. So yeah, there's a bit going on. I'm running out of ops here now, though. That's the problematic bit. Let's see what he does in his next turn. So he's saying I'm not looking for domination, basically. Is he going to take France? He is. So I'm looking forward to special relationship. And because of that, my option is... I think I'm going to use kitchen debates to take the UK. Because I hate to see special... Although, of course, he can use special relationship to cancel the UK. So... that is less attractive. So what do I do? And where do I go? If I play Che, he's going to be able to coup a whole bunch of African nations. But, of course, I currently have control. He'd be sensible to go for Zimbabwe and Sudan. He may go for Nicaragua as well. That's why I hate Che. It just gives him so many options. So I think I am one small stepping, and I'm saying I am racing ahead of you. And you've got to do something about that. And then I can space Che to try and get to the 3 VP space. So he now, to some extent, has to respond headline peaking-wise. So I think if he doesn't play special relationship from his hand, my AR7 is playing kitchen debates into the UK to trigger special relationship and put France back on the burner. He's given me China. He's holding Yasuri, which he's got to try in space, I guess, if he is going to go into space. Yasuri seems like the obvious space card. So we'll wait and see what he does. But again, all the time he's spacing now, especially that I'm ahead of him, he's not doing stuff in Asia, he's not doing stuff in Africa, he's not fighting the balance of power in South America, and he's 9 VP down. So, I mean, he needs a good Middle Eastern scoring. If he was to coup Egypt and play Iranian hostage crisis, I'm over a barrel. Which is that's a turn 8 nightmare for me, so I've got to watch out for that. Muslim Revolution, also bad, but may allow me to play back into them. So, a couple of options there. So let's see. I expect to see him do something like Space Yasuri here. Just going to quickly skim the list and see what we've not seen up to turn 7. Still haven't seen Quagmire, have we? So he may try quagging me. I feel like we've not seen it. Apologies if I'm wrong. So yeah, we'll see. We will see. So he sped up a wee bit, because he was about half an hour through turn 4, and now we're most of the way through turn 7. He's done that in 15 minutes. But we've been playing for, what, an hour 45, so thank you for bearing with me. Well, an hour 15. Either way, it must feel like longer to you listening to fratting. So, yes. Hopefully the conversation has been interesting and stimulating. In answer to the question, no, I don't Twitch. I don't have any idea what technology is required for that. So it's a damn sight easier to record it. I use FF Split and then upload it to YouTube, which is easy enough. That will do nicely for someone who is not massively technologically literate. So I'm left in a bit of a pickle with De Gaulle, obviously. What I'm looking to do this turn then is space Che. I can use South Africa and Unrest, and I'll basically say, alright, do what you want. He may put 1 in South Africa and 2 in Angola, which makes Angola more competitive, but still is overprotected. So I'm probably playing South Africa and Unrest and just repairing what he does. He puts 2 in South Africa, I put 2 back in there. So these are my 3 cards, and De Gaulle's my hold. Now let's see, he's still holding CIA. Because I played it in the early war for Ops, and I haven't seen it come back out. So he must be sitting on a DEFCON suicide card, which is making his choices harder. And I need to bear that in mind as well. He may be in a reasonably gross position where he's thinking he's got to space 5-year plan. I know, because his space is Yasuri in the end, that's fine. That's to be expected. He fails, so I get to peek at his headline. But I'm greedy, obviously, so I'm also going to space Che and hope for 3. Which I failed to do, but I get the first crack of the whip. With late war now coming, I will space De Gaulle next turn unless I get something even grosser, basically. Of course, another option for me is, with South African Unrest, I could just not repair this stuff because the scoring cards come out and use the 2 ops to break France for AR7, which then gives him the old, do I shore back France up and let him have a coup, or do I coup somewhere and let him take France? Which I kind of like. I might do that. Let's see what he's got. CIA? Yep. So for 1 op, another one over here. So we're on AR6. That's now neutral instead of might. So he may have Central America scoring. To that end, I'm going to use Kitchen Debates rather than for the 2 VP. Because that's a swing of 2 VP if that's what he's holding. So he's managed to dump CIA created. Alright, so I am going to ditch De Gaulle in South African Unrest and hope not to draw 2 scoring cards. Probability is low. Pretty good. So I'm going to use my AR7. Flower power. Maha. So I'm not going to do that, because I don't really want to give up the 2 VP, and there's lots of good cards in the late war, so I'm just going to break France. Although, obviously with Special Relationship coming, what I might do is break France and take the UK, in case I draw Special Relationship. So I've got Thatcher the Betrayer. Ortega's not DEFCON suicide for me at the moment. I could use How to Learn to Stop Worrying to drop DEFCON. I did get Special Relationship, which I can play any time in the turn. I got Iranian Hostage Crisis, which I'll space. So I've got Salt. Is there anything nice in the deck? Oh, well, VOA is nice. So I could always sort that later on. So I'll keep an eye on Salt. That might want to be my hold card. So my 8 for this round are these ones. I may play China card and then play Cultural Revolution to give them the point. So anyway, I'm going to... Oh, I get to peek, of course. So there's a bonus. I get to peek at his headline. That may make a small difference. Obviously, with Ortega, he gets a free coup of... So he's going to blast somewhere with a coup. But I still think I want to play How I Learned to Stop Worrying. Because I can play Special Relationship anytime I like, really. Yeah, I want to drop DEFCON to stop him having 2 coup attempts. So let's see where he goes first. Obviously, I now have the potential in turn 9 for Assault ABM combo. The problem is that these are quite well shored up. Unless I could get into Czechoslovakia, or put 4 in Austria. Okay, so he flips Thailand. I retain domination, of course, which is fine. So I'm not giving him another coup attempt. So now it becomes, so it's 4-2 to me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So yeah, I'm okay unless he breaks South Korea. Of course, he may want to break South Korea if he's got Cal. So if I get a chance early on in this round, I of course want to be shoring up South Korea to prevent that happening. If he starts doing things like breaking South Korea, breaking India, I also expect to see Asia scoring. I don't think you can deduce that from that coup, because ABM Treaty going up to DEFCON 4, Thailand is the natural target. So we're not going to read him for Asia scoring right now, but we should see a decent probability of it coming up. Obviously, I'm not playing Thatcher the Betrayer for the event. So he's reforming. That makes Salt ABM Treaty way more attractive still, as we've discussed. So I'll take Spain-Portugal to set up the Salt ABM, and obviously continue to outpace him in regions. If I can take Turkey and Canada as well, he'll be over a barrel. So I do like playing the China card and giving him a point for Cultural Revolution, certainly. Another reason to hold Salt is obviously War Games while the score is in my favour. He's made Glasnost unpleasant for me, and good for him. But really, War Games is in my favour unless Middle East scoring comes out. I do want to be trying to space Iran and see if I can bag 3 points sooner rather than later. And I'd quite like to see Evil Empire come out so I can play Indo-Pac without conceding 2 VP. But Flower Power came along at the time I needed it, frankly. I mean, I was purged. You gotta use those ops when you've got these ops. So I can respect that. So let's see what comes out. So he's going to try and flip Iran. He succeeds. Oh, that's pretty damn good for him. Well played. So that puts me over a barrel again. I've got access in Sudan, so if he plays Muslim Revolution, he's going to ditch both of those, which is problematic. So I am going to put an extra 1 in South Korea and put 1 in Turkey. And basically say, if you want Turkey, you're now going to have to put 3 ops into it. So Middle East scores him 6 now instead of 4, which is good for him. It's starting to look a little more ship-shape. So I'm eventing Special Relationship. I'm spacing Iran. I'm doing the China Cultural one too. So yes, he has to space Star Wars there. He succeeds. So I'll say, okay, well, let's space Iran. I fail. Glorious. So we're back on an even keel there. So I can always, if I see War Games go, I could always salt Star Wars to Star Wars War Games. Little convoluted route there, possibly. But now Cal is obviously, this is overprotected, so that's good for Cal. If I play Ortega, he's going to get a free coup of Nicaragua, of course. He's got to roll a 5 or a 6 to flip it to USSR. So I've got a 50% chance of staying in it, which would be a bonus. So I think I'm okay triggering Ortega for that reason. If I trigger it, he coups Nicaragua and fails, I kind of want to coup Dominican Republic and set up domination over there. And I think AR7, attractive AR7 is special relationship to continue the fight for France. He may be going for Nicaragua here. No, he's going for... So he's very much setting me up for being eliminated from the Middle East. So I've got to do something about that quite soon. Unpleasant. Very unpleasant. I'm going to trigger Ortega. Oh, blimey. Well. Oof. I forgot it removes influence. So it's not about getting a free coup in there, which suddenly makes that more attractive as my hold card. So do I play 2 into Israel and 2 into Libya, so that if I get... Options. I do fear Messer Revolution, and I fear obviously being couped as well for control. So I think I do want to play China card into, and then I want to play into Jordan as well. So I'm just going to pump Israel to make it tough for him. Although, of course, he could Arab-Israeli war me and make me look like a real idiot. And then I could play Cultural Revolution to flip Lebanon. And then for 2 VPs, I could play into Jordan as well, which denies him the Arab-Israeli war flip. My last 3 cards of the round could be these 3 now, because I might want to space Cultural Revolution. Well, it's only worth 1 VP, so it's a fairly good trade. I mean, I think AR7 has to be... Alright, so... This is where it gets interesting. Do I... Special relationship, salt... Get some coup going. I do want to salt for War Games, I think. And then I also get a chance at coups. And it's a 4-op card. I get a chance at coups too, and I can special relationship to get some points. So now he has to play Middle East scoring if he wants to. It'll be interesting to see how he reacts to this. Obviously with the salt coup issue, he's a good game very quickly, so maybe he's got Asia scoring. In which case I can do a bit more damage elsewhere on the board. It's not over yet. Defcon's 4. He may have forgotten that. So I think 6 and 7, I want to coup Argentina. 7, special relationship France. Yeah, there you go. He's back in the room. There's some time. So yeah, I think coup Argentina with Cultural Revolution drops points to 6. special relationship pumps points to 8 and threatens France. I don't need to use war games for the win, of course. If the Middle East comes along, it becomes a 4-op card. He may try cooing Pakistan, of course. That's another option. But I do want to get DEFCON down a wee bit. So he's gone for Africa, and he failed. No. I do want a coup. I'm going to coup Argentina. Pretty good. So War Games becomes live, although of course until you click the card and refresh it, it doesn't show it. So here's AR7, we'll see what he does. Regardless of what he does, I think I special relationship to get 8 VP and to break France. So then he's hoping for Middle East scoring in turn 9. If he doesn't get it, he can't coup. Asia might come out, a few other options. It's been frustrating sitting with Indo-Pakistani war because of flower power. But we're on the War Games cusp. Of course, he made terrorism me in turn 9, and I lose War Games anyway. So there's still life in the old dog yet. You should not count his chickens. But as horrible as the Middle East is, the Middle East and Africa nets to 0. And the rest of the board is neutral or in my favour, so I'll win on final scoring, if nothing else. So, we shall see. So we've now been playing, what, 35 minutes plus nearly an hour. So an hour and a half, coming up to that. So the game's not been that much slower than the 60-minute games we've played. But then, of course, those games did roll on a bit longer. So, he's shoring up. So I'm going to special relationship. Because this is the weird thing. I mean, I think in the build, does the USA win on draws, or is it the person who triggers war games? Either way, I'm not going to take the chance, and I'm going to play it properly. Special relationship. Turn 9. I'm holding war games. He knows DEFCON 2's a dead loss. Okay, so neither of us get to peek at headlines, and actually I've got VP cards, and I've got OPEC, which I can space, and Asia, which will score well, but I'm obviously not playing immediately. So I'm going to start with Evil Empire, in case he does use Cal, and I DEFCON suicide with duck and cover. And that cancels prevents flower power, which means I can then use Indo-Pakistani war for free. So we'll see. Basically, the game is, even if he plays Middle Eastern scoring, I should be able to score Asia quickly. He does score Middle East quickly. My Evil Empire. He may gun after Asia here in the hopes of blocking me. But what's he got to do in order to do that? He's got to break India, and then it's still 3-2. Now, I mean, I think yes, he could flip Indonesia 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8. If he flipped Indonesia and broke India, where would I be? He'd be 5, and I'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, 6. Oh no, yeah. So with the China card, break India, flip Indonesia. Okay. So he's going for extra points there. But I just say, give me Asia. And now I've got OPEC. I think the game's over. I think, unless he raises DEFCON, of course, and then I just duck and cover, and it becomes a bit of call and response. So he's hoping to pull war games. Unlucky. Where's the exclamation mark? I'm typing in the dark. Not that. Ye gods. Sorry, guys. Super smooth. Click here to return to the game. I don't like Steam. I prefer doing it on my phone. So that's that. War Games seals the deal for the USA. Thanks for watching. I will be playing Denovi in the next round, and it will be a grudge match for me because he's 1-0 on Twilight Struggle against me. So thank you for watching. I advanced to round 3 of the losers bracket. I'm sure probably be joining you after Denovi stuffs me. Right. Yeah, so Everson's new to the game, so his rating's fluctuating all over the place. Mine goes up a tad more. I'm still in the 1600s, which is honestly where I expect to be. I'll have made mistakes that game. I once again would be very grateful for any comments you have. Thanks again. And to you and Everson, enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I will bid you adieu. Thank you for watching. Feedback very welcome.